بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وإمام المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah ta'ala, we continue today stories from the Quran al-Kareem, and we started last week story from the Quran al-Kareem, which story did we start? The story of Sayyida Aisha, our mother Aisha radiallahu anha, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah An-Nur, number of ayat addressing the story of Sayyida Aisha radiallahu anha. We started last week the beginning of the story, and reflected some of the emotions of Sayyida Aisha radiallahu anha regarding what happened. And we mentioned that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was coming back from an event, and was Ghazwat al-Muraysiyah. And Aisha radiallahu anha, for the reasons that we stated last week, she was left behind. And when she was coming back, there is a person who found her. What was his name? What was his name? Any chance? Somebody remembers? Huh? Safwan, Sayyiduna Safwan radiallahu anhu, Safwan ibn al-Mu'attil. So Sayyiduna Safwan, which is not very known Sahabi, but he found her and he brought her back. And we mentioned the reason why Nabi Sallam used to keep somebody 24 hours behind him. So if there is an enemy after him, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, or they are lost, somebody is lost, this person will find that. So what we mentioned last week is when Sayyiduna Safwan found Aisha radiallahu anha, and he brought her back without any interaction, as we mentioned. When they were approaching the caravan, we said there was a sick person who took advantage of that moment. And his name is Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. Before I tell you the rest of the story, I would like to give you some background on this man. Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul is from Al-Madinah. And Medina before Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was called Yathrib. Yathrib is formed or built upon two major tribes, Al-Aws and Al-Khazraj. And each tribe, they have sort of what we call them Butun, which is sub-tribes or big families. They are so what constitute Al-Madinah, like these Butun, these big families. And each Arsh or button in Al-Madinah has a leader. So the political system of Al-Madinah at that time is these leaders of these big families get together and make decisions. But they realized by getting exposed to other nations that this is not an effective political system. They must have a leader. So that all before that discussion happened before Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam migrated to Al-Madinah. So they start discussion among them to have sort of a king or a leader or president of Yathrib. And the one name that was very likely to get this position was Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. Because of his wealth, because of his position, because of his family, because of his tribe. So he was the most candidate that was most likely. As a matter of fact, they was almost settled at some point. Right before the immigration of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they settled on him to be the king. But maybe the procedure of election or the ceremony, the inauguration didn't take place. Right? But they were settled on him to be the king of Al-Madinah. Around that time, when few from Al-Madinah, few individuals from Medina went to the Hajj, and they met in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as you know, and they gave him allegiance, what we called Bay'at al-Aqaba al-Ula, and then Bay'at al-Aqaba al-Thaniya, and then eventually Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam migrated from Mecca to Medina. So all the glory that this man was aiming for, all this fame and power and authority that has been for maybe decades working for, overnight is taken from him. So you can imagine what Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul has in his heart against the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Because basically, once the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam migrated to Medina, and everybody accepted Islam in Medina, or almost everybody, so he became the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he became the messenger, he became the leader, the political and the religious and the spiritual leader Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. As a matter of fact, not only he became the leader, even in Medina, the entire city, the name changed from Yathrib to Medina, the city of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Medina, which means the city. And what do we mean Al-Madinah? The Medina of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the city of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So all the glory, all the attention, all the allegiance, all the love, respect shifted to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This is why he was so much hurt and has so much hate toward the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So this is a background on Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. Eventually, he figured, instead of me pushing back, these people have an extreme love and respect to this man, so I would rather be what? Hypocrite. I hide my reality, I stay close to this man. Probably one day we can find a way to get rid of him and I go back to my authority and power. This was his plan and the hypocrites in Medina. So let's be close to this man. As a matter of fact, for a long time, we are talking about the 5th year right now. For 5 years, he was very close or trying to be close to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. For example, I'm just giving you some funny example just to understand how he used to act to be close to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. If Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is giving now speech, instead of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam coming here and sitting and give his speech, Abdullah ibn Ubay will get the microphone, introduce him. You know what I mean? So he would always to be in the scene, in the center of attention. So I'm here, don't forget me, okay? So he always trying to be around the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, to be close to him. So if in case they have something or a plan to get rid of him, or Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam dies, so he can go back to his power and authority. But he had so much hate, animosity to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So this man, when they were coming back from this battle, there is another incident happened, which is him and group of hypocrites with him, they tried to create something between Al-Muhajirin and Al-Ansar, the people of Al-Madinah and the people of Mecca. They tried to, and this is their tactic, their dirty games from the early time, from the very beginning, to create this animosity between Al-Muhajirin and Al-Ansar. It's a long story. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also shared this story in Surah Al-Munafiqun, and He named surah after them, the hypocrite surah. I will come to this maybe a story after the story of Al-Ifk, inshallah. We go in details with this story. But what happened is Allah exposed them in this incident. Allah revealed Quran in a long story that we'll be sharing later on about them. So they were hurt in addition to all this, what happened in the past. Now in this particular event, Quran revealed talking about them. So Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul was very mashhoon. How we say mashhoon, Shaykh Ja'far? Charged against the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, against the believers. So this is why he's looking for an opportunity to take revenge. So the moment he saw Sayyida Aisha and Safwan coming, this is the opportunity. I will show you who is Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. So this is, I want to give you background to understand the filth, the sickness, the evil of this man and his games. How dirty, how vicious, vulgar this man and his games. And these people will continue to exist throughout the time. This is why Allah is teaching us this story. Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul is not an individual man, is a phenomena that will exist in every time, in every society. This is why we have to learn about it. So Abdullah ibn Ubay, when Sayyida Aisha, the mother of the believers, the most pure woman on this planet, was coming back, what would every natural man or person would think, oh, we lost Sayyida Aisha. So this is what will be the reaction. But what was his reaction? They were together. And he doesn't have to say something. In some reports, in some reports, he said, "Wallahi ma salimat minhu wa la salima minha." I swear that they had an affair together, something of this nature. But in some reports, he didn't even say something. He just some what you call isharat, some hints. He didn't have to say it. So they came together. Oh, and sometimes you pretend to be suggest like innocent suggestion. Oh, they are coming together. Oh, is this Aisha coming with Safwan? As if you are asking question. You understand? As if you are asking question, but you are suggesting poison. You are hinting evil. Oh, is Aisha coming back with Safwan? So this is why so many times we create damage, not necessarily by lies, by these evil suggestions or the way we speak sometimes, or we don't put the proper word in the proper time, or look at the damage he created. So this is how the story started. And as you know, Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul was always was with the hypocrites. So when he suggested something like this, they start talking about it. They start spreading the rumors among the Sahaba, among the believers, among the Muslims. And unfortunately, Muslims in so many times, they don't know how to behave in occasions like this. So instead of putting an end to rumors like this, instead of stopping, these rumors were entertained in one way or other. We will talk how Al-Quran Al-Kareem beautifully, profoundly described the mistake. The Quran was more upset on the believers than the hypocrites themselves. As a matter of fact, the ayat that came addressing the story of Al-Ifk, the slander, there are 10 ayat. One ayah, only one ayah talking about hypocrites. In the first ayah, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ جَاءُوا بِالْإِفْكِ عُصْبَةٌ مِّنكُمْ. Those who created the slander, who initiated the lie, عُصْبَةٌ مِّنكُمْ. Allah said, I am aware of them. Only one ayah. The rest of the ayat in the Quran is not talking about Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul and his circle. It's talking about the believers and how they mishandled, how they fell into the hypocrites' game. So the Quran is addressing the believers and was so upset and disappointed of the attitude, the reaction of the believers. How come? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لولا إذ سمعتموه ظن المؤمنون والمؤمنات بأنفسهم خيرا وقالوا هذا إفك مبين. Why was it the case? The first moment you heard it, ظن المؤمنون والمؤمنات بأنفسهم خيرا. The very first moment you heard the slander, the lie, the filth, the evil, the vicious talk about Sayyidah Aisha, Allah said, ظن المؤمنون. You must have thought good. What did Allah said? Good of your brothers, good of your sisters? Allah said, you thought good of yourselves. What's amazing, profound term Allah said. ظن المؤمنون والمؤمنات بأنفسهم. You should have thought high, good of yourselves. The ulama discussed, why did Allah use you thought good of yourselves? The ulama said two reasons. One, because Muslims are one body. Muslims are one body. So when you hurt your brother, when you hurt your sister, you are hurting the body of Islam. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Muslimuna jasadun wahad. Muslims are one body. If one organ suffers, the entire body will suffer. So once you would protecting the Muslims is protecting yourself. This is one explanation why Allah used بأنفسهم. The other is لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب. You wouldn't be believer until you love for your brother or your sister what you love for yourself. Would you like to be in the tongue of everybody in the city? Would you like it to yourself? Would you like it? Nobody likes it. Why would you like it to your brother? Why do you like it to your sister? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. ظن المؤمنون والمؤمنات بأنفسهم خيرا. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَقَالُوا هَذَا إِفْكٌ مُبِينٌ. Not only you think high, and also you have to defend your brother and sister. وَقَالُوا. So two things Allah said. He addressed your thought, what you should think in a moment like this, and then what you should say. وَقَالُوا. And then you say, this is a lie, and you have to stop it there. You have to end it there. There is a beautiful story about what should be the proper reaction. There is a man called Abu Ayyub and his wife called Ayyub, and she reported this story. She said, I came when the rumors were overwhelming in Medina, the topic in the tongue of everybody in Medina. She said, I came to my husband, and she thought, is this privacy? It's my spouse, right? I came to my husband at night and told him, did you hear what people are talking about Aisha? And she said it in a manner that disapproval, not necessarily in approval manner. She said it in a manner that she's hurt how people are talking about Aisha. You know what was his reaction? He said, نعم وهو الكذب. I heard and it is a lie. And she said, yeah, I know it's a lie. I didn't say it's true, but everybody is talking about it. Then Abu Ayyub said, yet you shouldn't have brought it to me. You shouldn't have even opened that discussion. And then what he said? He said, أتفعلين? Would you do it? Would you do what they are claiming Aisha did? Would you do it? She said, of course I wouldn't do it. He said, Wallahi Aisha khayrun minki. Wallahi Aisha is better than you, more noble than you, purer than you. Wallahi Aisha khayrun minki. So if you don't like it, why you are... The point is, you shouldn't even discuss it. You shouldn't even talk about it. Not oh, sometimes, Adil, did you hear what people are saying? No. Not in approval or disapproval. This is what the Quran is addressing. You are giving life to the lie just by mentioning it in any manner. The proper way is to let it die. This is how we should address lies in the community. Accusations, false accusations, slanders, backbitings. And guess what? The Quran is addressing several categories in this story. One of them, which is the least addressed, is the people, the liars, the hypocrites who initiated the slander. And I said Allah addressed them in one ayah. The rest of the ayat is addressing the believers. One group is those who are spreading it innocently, if you will. There are those who are not addressing it or spreading it innocently. And there is a third group that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing, is those who kept silent when the topic is being mentioned. Allah said, لَوْلَا إِذْ سَمِعْتُمُوهُ قُلْتُمْ مَا. You have to speak up when it is mentioned. It's not enough to be silent even, Allah said. You have to stop the lie. If you are in a gathering, somebody is talking about somebody else, not only haram to engage in the honor, the dignity of your brother and sister, you have to end the discussion immediately. We don't do it. Why? Because we would like to keep the gathering, the party, entertainment. If I say that I have to leave the gathering, you don't want to leave the gathering, you want to stay, entertainment. No, you cannot, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. لولا إذ سمعتموه قلتم ما يكون لنا أن نتكلم بهذا. Allah said, if you hadn't been, or why was it the case? Once you heard it, you spoke up and you said, we cannot talk about it. Even between the spouses, you cannot talk about it. Even between the friends, you cannot talk about it. In any manner. This is how we bury the lies and the slanders Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. The moment you mention it with a couple of friends, you mention it with a couple of friends, you mention it with a couple of friends, I mention it with a couple of friends, with your spouse, with my spouse. This is how the rumors spread. And this is, you have achieved, the hypocrites have achieved their objective. Objective, what is their objective? Suspicious. Animosity. Hurting the feelings of those who are the subject of these lies and rumors. Would you like it even if you are innocent? Would you like to be the topic in the tongue of everybody in the community? Nobody likes it. So why would I like it to my brother or my sister? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. So Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, when we were approaching, the hypocrites took advantage and they spreading the rumors. She said, when I came back, because of the travel, because of the journey, she didn't go in first class flight. You know, the conditions of travel at that time. She became sick. She became sick for almost a month. So all the evil that is spreading in Al-Madinah, she had no clue of what's going on. She didn't know anything. The only moment where she started sort of having some suspicious is the way Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is treating her. She said, usually when I got sick, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam even more softer, more tender, more caring, more emotional. He's very, very caring man. She said, I didn't feel the same tender from Rasulullah. I didn't feel the same emotions from Nabi. I didn't feel the same care from the Nabi. This is why I start feeling there is something wrong. But Nabi, because also he was overwhelmed, he was deeply hurt by the rumors, but he didn't want to stay long with Aisha because he doesn't want her to ask him what's wrong. So he doesn't want to lie. And he doesn't want, in the same time, because he was noble man, to open the topic while she is sick, she is suffering. So he was trying to spend less time with her because he couldn't also swallow what's happening. So he was affected emotionally, psychologically by what was happening, yet he didn't want to open that topic because she is already struggling. She was already in the weather and fever and overwhelmed with the sickness. So he was trying to manage, yet she felt there is something going wrong. Now how for a long time Aisha didn't know anything. How did she know about it? She said, Aisha, in the same story, she said, we usually, at that time, we didn't have bathrooms at home. So how we relieve ourselves, she said, we go out. Ladies only at night. They can only relieve themselves at night. When it's dark, private, they go to the opening behind a tree or stone or rock, and they relieve themselves. She said, I went, when I was able to walk, eventually I was good enough, well enough to walk, I went at night with a lady called Mistah, the mother of Mistah. She said, I went with her for the sake of relieving myself. She said, on the way back, it was dark, she fell. Mistah fell. And as she fell, she said, Ta'isa Mistah. She cursed her son. She cursed her son. Ta'isa Mistah. Aisha said, what did you say? Did you curse Mistah? أَمَا تَعْلَمِينَ أَنَّهُ شَهِدٌ. Don't you know that he was in Badr? Don't you know how noble is this man? And look, subhanallah, how pure, innocent, and noble Sayyida Aisha was, radiyallahu anha. She had this quality not only in this incident. If you look at the biography of Aisha, she had this noble character. She remembers people with their best traits, with their best quality. Everybody has issues, everybody has challenges, everybody has shortcomings. But she had a quality, she remembers people of their best qualities. And subhanAllah, we like this. Sometimes when we fight as spouses or friends and we start mentioning our issues, what we tell each other, don't you remember that I have done this? Don't you remember that I have done this? We like people to remember good about us and disregard and overlook our mistakes. So we like it for others. This is what Aisha used to do. She remembers people of their best quality. So she didn't tell her even, you cursed your son. She said, you cursed a man who was in Badr. So in her mind, the categorization is a man of Badr is noble than my son or your son. You remember the logic, the procedure of the thinking of Aisha radiallahu. Look at that level. She said, do you curse a man who was in Badr? And she said, Ya bunayyati, oh my, how naive. You are. Don't you know what he's saying about you? Don't you know what he's saying about you? He said, no, I don't. And that is the first time Aisha radiallahu anha, our mother, knew about the slander. For a long time, so much evil and rumors and slander and lies are taking place in Medina, and she had no clue. And then she was an old lady. She wasn't wise enough, so she gave her the entire story. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam kept the secret from her, but Allahu A'lam, she thought Sayyidah Aisha knows, and maybe she shared by mistake, or she was not wise enough, and she shouldn't have shared the story with Aisha. She told her everything. And Aisha said, is this really going on? People are talking about me this way? They couldn't think that I was left behind. They couldn't think this way. They couldn't honor the dignity of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They didn't think about my past. She was so hurt, and she said, "Faraja'tu, fakuntu aswa mimmak." She was sick, but she was recovering. She said, I became even more sick and more ill. Not only now biologically, emotionally, psychologically, she was depressed. She was broken. And she said, فَبِتُّ لَيْلَتِي أَبْكِي حَتَّى أَصْبَحْتُ. She said, I spend the night crying until the morning reaches me. All night. She said, وَلَمْ أَهْنَأْ بِنَوْمٍ. I couldn't even close my eyes and get sleep even for a moment. Spent all night crying. Radiyallahu anha. And you can imagine how depressed, noble lady, wife of a noble man, being in a tongue of people in a very filthy, vicious way. She said, radiyallahu anha, I will take maybe 1 or 2 moments, inshallah ta'ala. We continue this, and then we'll take a break until next week, inshallah ta'ala. She said, when the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam visited me the very next time, I didn't open the topic with him. All what I said, Ya Rasulullah, إِذَنْ لِي بِاللَّحَاقِ بِأَهْلِي. Could you please give me permission to join my parents' house? And look at the wisdom of Aisha. She didn't know how to handle the situation. She didn't know if it is wise to open the discussion with the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So she felt the right thing to do is, I need to discuss this with my parents first. So she said, Ya Rasulullah, then, and look at her obedience. She didn't just left her house and went to her parents without the husband approval. She said, Ya Rasulullah. And she was, if she had done it, she would be excused, isn't it? A lady with this situation, she would be excused. But she waited until he came, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave her permission, not knowing that she knows. Right? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, until now, he thought Aisha is not aware. So he thought it could be better to stay with her family. So he gave her permission to join her family. And Aisha radiallahu anha left the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and she joined her parents' house. Inshallah ta'ala, next week we continue from that moment, when she joined her parents and what happened from then onward. But I would like you brothers and sisters to live with these lessons, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed the believers before the hypocrites. 9 ayat blaming primarily the believers, the Muslims, who gave life to the slander in one way or other, because of whatever reasons, whatever motivations. But definitely they were not hypocrites, and most of them, even they knew that she's a pure. She didn't do. But okay, we go. Okay, well, there is a party, we are eating, and it is a scandal that everybody is talking about. So let's open the discussion, right? This is how is our life. We call it fakihat al-majalis. You know what fakihat al-majalis means? Huh? The sweet of the parties, talking about others. This is what is the reality. And people, as I said, there are three categories. There are the evil people who initiate the slander, and there are people who engage, and there are people who keep silent. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ how is the ayah says? إن الذين جاءوا بالإفك عصبة منكم لا تحسبوه شرا لكم بل هو خير لكم لكل امرئ منهم ما اكتسب من الإثم. All these three categories, everybody has his own share from the sin. Everyone, those who are silent, those who are spreading, and those who initiated. Everybody has a share from the crime, from the slander, from the sin. And this is a quality that we have, brothers and sisters, to work hard on it. Because so many of us, at the best case scenario, we are from the third category. We just keep silent, but we are enjoying somehow. This is the reality. And we don't feel courage enough to stop the lies. Why you are talking about this brother? Why you are talking about this sister? Why? Assume it is true. Why we should brought this? Why we should bring this? If it is true, isn't the right thing is to cover the brothers and the sisters? Isn't this the right thing? Hadn't been, or assume it is true, what's being said about this brother or this sister. Isn't the right thing to do is to cover the mistakes of each other? So there is no reason for us to entertain these lies in our communities, in our families, in our gatherings, in our parties, in our dinners, in our invitations, right? Let's not talk about one another. I was telling some brother like this, he said, if we stop talking, then we don't invite each other anymore. We stop our gatherings, because this is how mostly we spend our time, right? It is very sad. And you will hear next week, inshallah ta'ala, the ayat, how strong Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was. He said, وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ, hadn't been for the mercy of Allah and the rahmah of Allah, Allah would have destroyed all of you, including those who were silent. Allah was so angry at them. وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ لَمَسَّكُمْ فِيمَا أَفَضْتُمْ فِيهِ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. Great, severe punishment was going to take place on Al-Madinah. But Allah, out of His mercy and rahmah, He gave people a chance to learn. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us and learn, and we help us, grant us this quality. We care for brothers and sisters. We care for their dignity. We care for their honor. When we hear something wrong, we stop it right there. We don't entertain it in any manner, in any way. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت استغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.